Hey, Mark. So we got an accepted offer for our buyers today. Exciting stuff. They're happy. I'm going to get that over to you. What else do you need or what happens from there once I get you that purchase agreement?
So the next step for me is once I've received that purchase agreement, I will be sending out the buyer what's called a loan estimate.
Tell me a little bit more about that. What does that entail?
Yeah, so it's a document that outlines the basic parameters and details of the mortgage loan.
What exactly is in this loan estimate?
There's quite a few things, but basically it's the interest rate of the mortgage loan, it's the monthly payment, it's the closing cost, it's the loan terms, and it's the projected cost for the homeowner's insurance and property taxes. The key part of this is a loan estimate.
And it's just that, right? It's just an estimate. Give them a guideline of what to expect, right?
Yes, so we're usually pretty close, and it is just an estimate, and it's the first series of two documents that we'll be sending out to have the client sign and submit back to me.
They understand, they sign it, right? They have to sign it and they get it back to you. What happens next?
Yes, exactly. So what happens is I take that loan estimate, and it gives me the ability to take the purchase agreement that you just provided to me and the documents that they previously gave me that they got pre-approved with, and I submit all those documents to the underwriter. It also gives me the ability to order an appraisal.
When should this happen or take place?
So essentially, the time that I receive the loan estimate back, I place the order for the appraisal, and that order is usually fulfilled within anywhere 10 days to 2 weeks max.
Tell me a little bit more about how that comes into play. Is there anything that takes precedence before actually having it ordered?
I will place the appraisal order and I will send the client or the buyer a payment link. Once the buyer pays that link, that triggers the order to get processed and an appraiser gets assigned. The appraiser then will reach out to either yourself or the selling agent to set up a time to go visit the property. The appraisal usually costs anywhere between $600 and $700. I had a chance to look through the purchase agreement and I see that there is a inspection contingency. Tell me a little bit about how that works.
What I like to do is get ahead of the game. So if we're planning on potentially putting in an offer, I like to stay in touch with the inspector or inspectors that I work with and see what their availability is. In this case, since this offer was just agreed to yesterday, late last night, we have the inspector already out this morning. So we're already on top of that. Once this inspection is complete, we're looking at a turnaround of getting this report in about 24 hours, at most maybe 48, depending on how busy they are, right?
How much does an inspection cost typically?
So an inspection costs, so typically if you're looking at 0 to 2,000 square feet, for example, you're looking anywhere between $350 to $450 on average.
What exactly does the inspector look at and report on?
It's a great question. I myself am not an inspector, but I can just give you a few things off the top of the head that I've experienced and when I walk through with an inspector. So they're going to take a look at the condition of the property from the foundation to the outside, the siding, the roof, windows, and furnace, plumbing. They're going to make sure that things are operable, flooring, walls, electric. They just basically thoroughly go through the entire house. They'll even look at crawl spaces, attics, stuff like that to make sure that everything looks good. There's no air leaks, air pressure's good in the house, stuff like that. So that's just a few things off the top of my head that I can think of. So does the inspection ever have any conflict with getting the loan approved?
It does sometimes, Alejandro. If there is electrical challenges or roofing issues or plumbing issues or lead-based paint or mold, and it gets flagged by the inspection and is confirmed by the appraisal, we might have some challenges that the lender would not provide a mortgage for that home unless it was cured or repaired prior to the closing date. I also saw in the purchase agreement that you have a right to cure. Tell me a little bit more. What does that actually mean? What is that all about?
Yeah, the right to cure, that allows the seller the ability to fix any things that are wrong with the property as far as defects go. So defects is it's a term used and you can look that up and do some more with that. But any defects that are in the property on the property, the seller has the right to cure it, fix it, or offer a credit for the buyer to fix it on their own. It's something that's negotiated between all parties. If all parties come to an agreement, we can then move forward and wrap up the inspection contingency. Mark, I heard that the appraisal has been done and it actually came in under what the offer to purchase agreement was. What happens now?
If the appraisal comes in under the purchase price, we are only able to lend you up to the appraised value, not the purchase price. So either the buyer has to come up with the difference, or we have to go back to the negotiation table with the seller and see what the buyer and the seller can agree upon to pay.
All parties came to an agreement with the appraisal. That's all taken care of. The appraisal contingency is now satisfied. What are the next steps from there with the lending side?
We wait for the underwriter to come back with approval with conditions. And typically that means that we need a few more documents. Usually it's a homeowner's insurance. It might be some title documents. If you've been recently through a divorce, it may be the divorce decree. If you're buying a condominium, it might be homeowners association documents. But typically they always give an approval with conditions. And once we get that additional documentation submitted back to the underwriter, they then give us what's called a clear to close.
Tell me a little bit more about the insurance side of it, though. What at what point should they have insurance set up before
So
closing?
insurance is yeah. So insurance always has to be ordered prior to the closing, and it starts the day that the actual closing of the loan. I usually get quotes for homeowners insurance at the same time that I do the appraisal and the loan estimate. The bottom line is the homeowners insurance needs to be ordered and accepted prior to the closing, because I need those documents. I need the homeowners insurance documents to be able to send out the closing disclosure. I can't send out a closing disclosure without a homeowners insurance.
What is a closing disclosure in the least amount of words? Could you describe that just a little bit?
Yeah, so it's very much like the loan estimate that we talked about earlier. The closing disclosure is a document that outlines the actual numbers, the rate, the interest rate, the mortgage a monthly payment, the homeowner's insurance, the property taxes. It is as close as possible to the actual numbers that are going to be in your mortgage note.
And then it turns into a final disclosure. So the client can actually see what the number is for a buyers, our buyers. They know exactly what to bring to the closing table, how much they need.
That's correct. So once we balance with the title company will create the final closing disclosure, and that will be the document that you will sign on the day of your closing. How does a buyer select a title company?
Great question. In the offer to purchase, typically what happens is the seller will choose a title company and the buyer would just follow suit. And it just helps keep all the documents in order. It's all in one place. But a buyer also has the right to choose whatever title company they want to work with. If they've had experience with somebody prior or they just prefer to use somebody else, they can do that. Thank you guys for watching. We aim to do our best to bring value to you. So hopefully this was helpful. Please let us know in the comments what topics do you have concerns about, questions about. We'd love to hear them so that we can answer them for you.